Chapter 11. The Watchers. Nate stepped out of the communications hub, the air cooler than he remembered it being when he first went in. The back door ran past him, saying, "When you need me, I will be there." Then he disappeared from Nate's sight. The plaza stretched ahead, wide, open, busy as always. Too busy. His phone buzzed. He didn't check it. Not yet. Something was off. The feeling crept in slow, like an itch in the back of his mind. At first, it was just a vague awareness, the sense that the space around him wasn't as empty as it seemed. Then it sharpened. Someone was watching him. He kept walking, forcing himself not to look back. Instead, he veered toward a shop window, pretending to check a display. His reflection flickered against the glass. Most people around him moved in easy, predictable patterns, shopping, talking, scrolling their MarketLink feeds. But one man, he wasn't moving at all. He stood near a row of benches, staring directly at Nate, not at his phone, not at the shifting advertisements above, at him. Nate swallowed, pulse kicking up. His earpiece crackled. It was the back door. "Don't go home." The voice was calm, but urgent. Nate forced himself not to react. He barely moved his lips as he whispered, "Who is that watching?" The earpiece crackled again. "Someone you don't want to meet. You're being followed." Nate's phone buzzed again, but he ignored it. His heart was already pounding. He didn't need to check his screen to know this wasn't a normal task notification. Something was wrong. The watcher hadn't moved at first, just stood there, staring. But the second Nate turned away, he caught a flicker of movement in the storefront reflection. He was following. Nate forced himself to keep walking. Steady, normal. The earpiece crackled. "Turn left, now." The voice was sharper than before, controlled, urgent. Nate hesitated for half a second, then he obeyed. He veered left, stepping into a side street. The moment he did, he saw it again, the watcher's reflection. The man had changed course. Nate sped up, so did the watcher. The earpiece crackled again. "Pick up the pace. Next right." Nate didn't question it this time. He darted into the next alley, his pulse hammering. The path ahead twisted between shops, places he barely recognized, parts of Verosphere he never had a reason to visit. His breath came hard, but he couldn't stop. The watcher wasn't running. He was just walking. Steady, unbothered. But no matter how fast Nate moved, he wasn't gaining ground. It was like the watcher already knew where he was going. The earpiece clicked again. "You're not fast enough. Take the stairs. To your left." Nate looked up. A fire escape. His stomach tightened. Nate's breath came hard as he grabbed the metal rungs and hauled himself up the fire escape. The steel was hot under his fingers, radiating heat from the artificial, unmoving sun above. His shoes slammed against the steps as he climbed, his muscles burning. He didn't look down. He refused to look down. He reached the top and threw himself onto the rooftop, rolling onto his back, gasping for breath. The plaza stretched out below him, wide, gleaming, perfect. For a brief second, he thought he'd lost the watcher. Then he saw him. The man stood at the base of the fire escape, staring up at him, not running, not climbing, just watching. Nate's pulse hammered in his ears. He pushed himself up and scanned for another way down, another fire escape, another rooftop close enough to jump to. That's when he saw them, more watchers. They stood below, spaced evenly apart at different points in the plaza. They weren't moving, they weren't searching for him. They were waiting. The earpiece crackled. "Don't panic." The back door's voice was calm but sharper than before. "They're not chasing you. They're hurting you." Nate's stomach turned. What the hell did that mean? He crouched lower, his hands gripping the rooftop ledge. Below, the watchers didn't look up. They didn't have to. It was like they already knew where he would go next. A low static buzz buzzed through his earpiece before the back door's voice cut through. "You need to move. Now. But not the way you think." Nate wiped his palms against his jeans. "There's no way down. Not down. Inside." He frowned. Inside? Then he saw it. Tucked near an old ventilation unit, a rooftop maintenance hatch. It was barely open, just a crack, like someone had left it that way on purpose. "Go through," the back door said. "I'll guide you." Nate hesitated. He didn't trust this. He didn't trust the watchers either. A faint, metallic sound echoed from below, the building's door opening. Nate's chest tightened. They were coming up. No more thinking. He gripped the edge of the hatch, took a breath, and slipped inside. Nate dropped down into the darkness, his feet hitting solid ground with a dull thud. The air here was different. Thick with dust, stale in a way that Verosphere never was. For a second, he just stood there, his breath steadying, ears straining for any sign that the watchers were following. Nothing. Then his phone screen flickered. No signal, no GPS, no market link connection. It was like this place didn't exist. The earpiece crackled. You're safe, for now. The backdoor's voice was steady, but there was an edge to it. Nate swallowed, turning slowly in the dim light. The corridor stretched ahead, long and narrow. Unlike the rest of Verisphere, clean, modern, ever-changing. This place was untouched. The walls were concrete, cold beneath his fingers. Scratched into the surface were marks, faint writing that had been nearly rubbed away. Something about it sent a chill through him. He took a step forward. "Keep moving," the backdoor said. "This exit won't stay open forever." Nate hesitated. What is this place? A pause, then an escape route, one I put together. Nate's stomach tightened. Put together? He wanted to ask more, but the walls seemed to close in the longer he stood there. He walked forward deeper into the forgotten passage, and behind him the hatch slid shut. Nate moved forward, his breath steady but his pulse still racing. The passage stretched ahead, the air growing cooler. It felt different down here, like stepping into a place time had forgotten. His phone screen was still blank. No signal. No market link. For the first time since arriving in Verisphere, he was off the grid. A dim glow flickered at the end of the corridor. The backdoor's voice crackled through his earpiece. Almost there. Keep going. Nate followed the light until the passage finally opened up. He stepped into a large open space, a forgotten sector of Verisphere. At first glance, it looked like another part of the plaza. Stores, walkways, digital screens frozen mid-advertisement. But it was different. Dust covered the ground. The air felt still. The stores were empty, their shelves abandoned, a place that had once been part of the system, but wasn't anymore. Something about it felt wrong. Then Nate saw the lights. Not Verisphere's clean, artificial glow, but dim screens, scattered consoles, and equipment that looked scavenged, rewired, reprogrammed. At the center of it all, a workstation glowed with multiple monitors stacked against a wall of cracked glass. And in front of it, leaning casually against an old terminal, the backdoor, a hood drawn low, a smirk. "Welcome," he said, "to the part of Verisphere they don't want you to see."